My Mind Turns Your Life into Folklore by Full Metal Dude 1. Read by My Lost and Found. Summary. Day 21. Mythology AU. Izuku is a merfolk who loves the humans. Shouto is a human who loves the sea. This fic is about 1,200 words and one chapter. This is a whispered podfic, and this podfic was recorded for Voiceteam 2025 for the challenge Snuggle Up. As always, link to the fic is in the description. And on with the story. Once upon a time, in an ocean far away, there lived a race of beings that only existed in myth. They were once human, a long time ago, but their ancestors took to the seas, and soon they became of the sea itself. They had a rich culture with a high intellect and many ways to express their feelings. But they still breathed air, so these beings would rise to the surface when they needed to, bringing the oxygen back down to the ocean floor in their lungs and spleen. These people were the merfolk. They lived all over the world, in kingdoms of their own design that had very little to do with the human nations that existed by the coasts. Some of them even lived in fresh water, in deep enough rivers and vast enough lakes. Within one of these kingdoms, the kingdom of Almighty, there lived a great king of the sea known as Toshinori. Toshinori was one of the most beloved kings in the history of Almighty. Kind, fair, just. He was a king who believed in using his wealth and power to bring joy and happiness to his people. He was often called the Hero King for his great deeds, and there were many merfolk in and outside of the kingdom who admired him. One of those merfolk was a young lad named Izuku Midoriya. Izuku deeply admired Toshinori's kindness and power, and did all he could to be like the wonderful, heroic king. But Izuku was born sickly and odd, no magic in his bones, preferring the waters that the humans explored over the deep ocean where most of the kingdom's territory existed. There were rumors that Toshinori could travel on land, and Izuku was fascinated by the humans because of those rumors. Though, in fact, there was one human he was fascinated with in particular. A young boy named Shouto Todoroki. Shouto was the fourth son of a wicked and tyrannical lord in the kingdom of Endeavor. He was a man who despised the sea and wanted to destroy it. But his youngest son adored the ocean, was fascinated by the fish and the coral and the dolphins. Shouto often snuck away to the beach to spend his time gazing into the rock pools and ducking his head in the sea. And Izuku often watched him, too fearful to approach. Most merfolk avoided humans due to their own shyness, and Izuku was no exception. Plus, he did not understand Shouto's tongue, and feared he would not be able to communicate with him. They were simply not meant to be. Yet Izuku could not be more wrong. One day, Shouto was exploring the rock pools on the edge of the water, staring into puddles. Izuku was watching him in turn, daring to cling to the rocks. legs. Then Shouto looked out at sea, and their eyes met. They couldn't look away, awe and confusion keeping their eyes linked. Then Shouto slipped on a stone, and the spell was broken as he dove under the waves, and Izuku swam over to him to help him get back to the sandy part of the beach, away from the rock pools and slippery stones. Shouto tried to thank Izuku for helping him, but the two could not understand each other. Shouto's words and Izuku's clicks meant nothing to either of them. Yet, the two continued to have many encounters after that. Izuku would bring things from the ocean floor to show Shouto, who would observe them in fascination. Shouto would also bring gifts from human society to Izuku, who would touch them in amazement. The two continued to try to verbally communicate with each other, but with their ears and vocal bones being shaped differently, it was impossible. So instead, they learned to speak with their hands. They both had 5 fingers and 2 hands, even if Izuku's fingers had webbing between them. The two of them worked out that waving their arms above their heads meant danger, that one hand high meant welcome, that a clenched fist and a thumb pointing down meant bad. It was a very rudimentary language, but the two of them continued to practice it, and steadily they were able to say many things to each other. They told each other their names and of their homes, Izuku's cave and Shouto's castle. They told each other their hopes and of their dreams, Izuku's admiration of Toshinori and Shouto's wish to travel the world. They told each other their fears and insecurities, Izuku's lack of magic making him as sickly by all those who knew him, and Shouto's scar marking him as the unsightly son of a man who drove his wife to madness. They fell in love and continued to see each other more and more often, while the Lord of Endeavor grew more and more wicked. The Lord knew his youngest son was behaving strangely lately, waving his hands erratically when he's alone, spending more time out of the castle walls instead of inside them, gazing off into the sky as he hums and smiles. It all pointed to one of the Lord's worst nightmares. His son was in love. The Lord only had so many children so he could marry them off for better political relationships. But Shouto was different. Shouto was going to be his successor. His successor cannot waste time on love. So the Lord followed Shouto when he left, and he was disgusted to find him fawning with a boy in the water. Not just a boy, though. A merfolk boy. The Lord despised the sea and all who lived in it, but especially the merfolk. The Lord would not allow Shouto to fall in love with one. The Lord burst into the scene, screaming and shouting at his son, demanding he abandon Izuku, but Shouto refused. Shouto fought to try and protect himself, and Izuku helped as much as he could, bound to the water as he was, splashing the Lord with his fin. But the Lord had enough and put his hands on Shouto, dragging him away and making Izuku call out for help. When Toshinori, the heroic king, rose from the sea to answer their call, Toshinori used his magic to turn the evil lord into a gecko, trapping him in a glass jar. A jar that Shouto decides to throw as far and as hard as he could into the ocean. Izuku and Shouto thanked the heroic king for helping them in their hour of need. Toshinori laughed and said it was only the right thing to do, and since he can see how much the lovers adore each other, he offered to grant them the ability to be together no matter where they go. I have a magic that is passed down from the ruler to chosen, which allows me to transform into a human at will. I can share this magic with the two of you, should you continue to remain pure of heart. Do you accept it? Izuku and Shouto accepted and gained the ability to shift between human and merfolk as they liked. They traveled the land and the ocean together for all their days and lived happily ever after. The end. And that is all for this podfic. I hope you enjoyed and were able to relax. I always find these little fairy tale kind of overviews, just like a classic fairy tale, I guess. I find them so relaxing. So I hope you guys found it relaxing as well. And like I said at the beginning, this podfic was recorded for Voiceteam 2025 for the challenge Snuggle Up. And while I was recording this and hopefully helping you all relax, I myself am bundled up in a blanket, cozy in the dark. It may be like 20-something degrees Celsius in my room, but you can pry this blanket out of my cold, hot, dead hands. Blankets are just so cozy, and I love them. And anyway, as always, link to the fic is in the description. If you enjoyed and are still awake, go leave a kudos, go leave a comment, whatever you can. It can wait for later though, if you just want to stay relaxed. Lie down, maybe close your eyes. And that is all for this time. And I will see you guys next time.